The opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the owners, staff, management, or advertisers of this station. Hello, and welcome to the Oath Keeper Show, a collection of rants, raves, personal observations, and insights on current events, social issues, and things that just don't pass the common sense test. I am the Oath Keeper, and here is today's topic. Alexander Hamilton wrote, "Hence, also, the origin of all civil government, justly established, must be a voluntary compact between the rulers and the ruled, and must be liable to such limitations as are necessary for the security of the absolute rights of the latter, of the ruled. For what original title can any man or set of men have to govern others except their own consent, to usurp dominion over a people in their own despite, or to grasp at more extensive power than they are willing to entrust, is to violate that law of nature which gives every man the right to his personal liberty, and can therefore confer no obligation to obedience." He also went on to say, "When human laws contradict or discountenance the means which are necessary to preserve the essential rights of any society, they defeat the proper end of all laws, and so become null and void." What am I talking about? Well, pretty simple. A lot lately, and this seems very, very prevalent, since, about 2008, when the Democrats proffered a socialist, an unvetted socialist, for office of the President of the United States of America. Ever since then, there's been this ongoing issue with our government, as if they just absolutely do not care one iota about me, you, or any of the other little people. Now, sure, Obama stands up and everything he's done is to help the little guy, but if you look at his track record on it, he's destroyed the middle class. The exact same middle class that he said he's pulling for. Well, facts are facts. The reality of the situation, the reality of his policies is they have not helped the United States one single bit. They have helped our enemies. They have helped Al-Qaeda, the same people that flew planes into the World Trade Center on 9/11. They've gone out of their way to help them, but they're not so hot about helping us. The Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, effects against unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. I mention that because that's also important to where I'm going today. Under the FISA provision of the Patriot Act, and I put Patriot Act in quotation marks because there's nothing about this jerky reaction to 9/11 that is helpful to American citizens. However, under the FISA portion of the Patriot Act, me, you, or anybody else can have the NSA go through our emails without our knowledge, listen to our phone calls without our knowledge, track every single movement we make on any social media or any internet searches that we do. They can collect that information. They can then set up a situation where they can lure you into a situation where you can then be arrested. And when it goes to court, they don't have to present you or your lawyer with any of the evidence against you because it's national security. Now, this isn't to say that you don't get to face your accuser. You certainly you get to go to court, and you certainly have to have this all-powerful, all-ensuing government agency. You get to face them, but they don't have to provide a single shred of evidence against you. Now, if you wonder if that should scare the bejeebies out of you, it should. Because that is exactly the situation that our founding fathers were in when they separated from England. The ability that England had at the time was to come in to your house, arrest you, throw you in jail, never tell you why you were being arrested, and oh, by the way, while you're rotting in jail waiting for a trial that may never happen, You have to prove your innocence to them. Our system was set up so that you are considered to be innocent until proven guilty. And then we took that one step further and we said, okay, if I, a government agency or the police or the state, decide that you have committed a crime, I have to prove that you committed the crime. You don't have to prove that you didn't commit the crime. I have to prove that you did. So we have this system that's set up by our founding fathers that basically says, here are the very extreme limited powers of the federal government. Here are, everything else is an authority of the state. The state has the ability to do these things that are not specifically listed for the federal government. And we have elected officials that are supposed to follow the Constitution and supposed to follow the things that we want them to do. You can come down on each side of the political spectrum that you want to, because elected officials are elected because the main group of people that put them in office say, we think this way, we want to act this way, we want our laws to reflect the things that we feel. Now, this country is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. And there is a huge difference. I invite you to learn the difference between the two because it's going to be very important as we go down the road. Our elected officials are the people that are supposed to represent us in government. Then you have John Boehner, and as Speaker of the House, he has completely and utterly failed to represent the people that elected him. After the 2008 elections, when a group of people got into office and came into power that believed in taxing the ever-loving daylights out of people and spending money as if there is no tomorrow was the answer, a group of conservatives stood up and said, look, we don't think that the government needs to raise our taxes. We think that we are taxed enough already. TEA. That's where the T in Tea Party comes from. Taxed enough already. You already get too much of our money. You already spend more money than you need to on stupid things like Solyndra and the stimulus program and all of these other ignorant programs where money is being thrown in the toilet in foreign countries that hate us. So a group of people got together and they formed a coalition of grassroots people called the Tea Party because they feel, by golly, and I was one of them. I was a founding member of the Tea Party in Union County, Tennessee. I was one of two people that stood out on the side of the road on April 15th with a sign right there at the corner of the high school where Kay's is at, with my little sign and that said, honk if you think your government spends too much of your money. And what happened? That idea spread. That idea grew. And then the Tea Party started actually electing people into the government. Why? Because they represented people that said, look, you can't continue to spend money we don't have. Folks, we are borrowing money from Russia and China to give to foreign countries, and we can't even pay our own bills. And people in Washington think there's nothing wrong with this. So the Tea Party puts a few people in, and they stand their ground, and they go, look, we're spending too much money. There needs to be some kind of control here. You can't just ask the American people for a blank check forever and then be okay with it. John Boehner is mad because he's tired of having to deal with the Tea Party. And he's tired of having to deal with people that are not happy with the fact that the Republican Party kowtows to the Democrats every time you turn around. John, let me tell you something, buddy. You're not doing your job. You are not in that position. You were not elected to kowtow to every single socialist agenda, socialist ideologically driven stupidity that comes out of Barack Obama's mouth. You weren't sent there to do that. And the day that you stand up and you run that hole under your nose and you say you're tired of the core conservative center of what's left of the Republican Party because you're too busy trying to be like the socialists, you need to step back and realize who you work for, mister. There are too many people. It is too much common knowledge to know a lot of the things that make Barack Obama ineligible to be president, and we're going to take those and we're going to set them off to the side because it doesn't matter whether he was born on the 4th of July during a joint session of Congress in Washington, D.C., or he was born in Kenya like everybody in his book says he was. The man is destroying this country, and people like John McCain and people like John Boehner are helping him. And the reality of this situation is, kids, that they cannot possibly be completely unaware of the crap that he is doing. So, the point comes down to one of two things. They are either completely incompetent and incapable of doing their job, or they're complicit to his fraud. They're complicit. They are allies. They are accomplices in the destruction of the United States. And John Boehner wants to stand up and say that he's tired of those Tea Party people, that they are running roughshod over us. Do your job, we wouldn't have to. It really is that simple. John Boehner, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, even Paul Ryan, for God's sakes, who ran as a Republican, is now saying that we're supposed to cut the military's pay. We're supposed to cut the veterans' benefits to pay for all of these projects. Well, let me tell you something about what's going on here in government, kiddos. Ever since Barack Hussein Obama stood up before his election in 2008, he said the following.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
And people, you heard them there, they were clapping. They were clapping. And everything that he has done in his administration, every single piece of legislation, everything, every goal, every desire he has had has been to gut our military to the point that we cannot defend ourselves. And if that isn't treason, I don't know what is. John Boehner's going to back him up. John McCain's going to back him up. Lindsey Graham's going to back him up to the hilt. And then they're going to stand back and moan and cry because the people that voted us into office are now wanting us to do our jobs. Don't like it? Go home. Plenty of other people out there more willing to look at the Constitution and say this is the law of the land, and if it isn't in this document, we don't do it. Article 5, term limits of the U.S. Congress, House, and Senate. Forefathers feared the day that the U.S. Congress would evolve into the same aristocracy from which they had fought for our freedom. And in their wisdom, they left us an option. So the point, folks, here becomes quite simple. It becomes disgustingly simple. Do we allow our elected officials to continue to represent themselves and not represent we the people? Or do we take our government back into our hands and hold these people accountable for what they are doing? And with that, I will leave this little snippet with you of Trey Gowdy's remarks regarding Barack Hussein Obama.
I would like to think that the leader of the free world would not mislead people solely to win an election, but I'm also not naive enough to believe that.
You've been listening to The Oath Keeper Show. The opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or owners of the station or its advertisers. You can email me at oathkeepershow@yahoo.com, catch me on Facebook at facebook.com/theoathkeeper, and you can read my column in the Polygraph newspaper. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.